Okay, so having looked at statutory marriage, now it's time to look at customary marriage. What is a customary marriage? So, a customary marriage is a union contracted under traditional customs practices, often governed by specific ethnic groups or laws like that. So in short, this one is under traditional customary practices, often governed by specific ethnic group laws and customs in Tambi. So nga mwaupila ya kumushi kumienu, then that one is a customary marriage. So some people would prefer not to get married ya kukoti ya matauni. They would prefer to marry from their roots, kumishi kumyavo. So what are the key features under customary marriage? So we're going to see that under customary marriage, the marriage is going to be contracted under customary practices. So customary marriages are governed by traditional laws and customs. If you back on kale ama if you call way, or I don't know how we can call them, but the traditions in Tambi. So this one may be non-voluntary. I think we remember some time in history whereby even if you don't like a partner, as long as the family, your father, your grandfather just says marry from that family, you just have to marry. So the traditional laws will govern, and you may not want that particular thing, but it should just happen for the betterment of the tradition. So marriages may be arranged by families or communities rather than being a voluntary union between two individuals. So you may see maybe you like or you love your partner, you have your fiancé or something, then they just tell you to say forget about that one, you're getting married to this one that we've chosen for you. That is how it is. Then the other key thing is polygamy. Polygamy may be allowed or is allowed in this type of marriage. So some ethnic groups in Zambia such as the Ngoni, Tumbuka, people like that would permit polygamy. So they would do allow somebody to have more than one wife, more than two wives, more than even a lot of them like that. They do allow that. So polygamy here, the key thing is it is allowed under customary marriage, but not under statutory marriage, the one that we've covered in the previous video. So the other key aspect is that divorce here, all right, and refund. What happens when you want to do that divorce? So in some cases, a wife can be sent back to her parents and the marriage payments refunded, indicating a divorce. So there are certain things, and we're going to cover divorce in the next element of family law. So we'll cover it, we'll see how it is done under statutory and under customary. But the key thing to know is that under customary marriage, whenever there is supposed to be a divorce, then some money will be refunded and then the wife sent back to her parents to indicate that a divorce has taken place. So let's talk about cultural variations. So how is this marriage done in different things? So the cultural variation. So we see here that different ethnic groups, like different tribes, different groupings like that in Zambia, such as the Luvale, the Lunda, and the Tonga, have their own customary marriage practices. So what we simply mean here is how the Luvales do may differ to how the Lundas do and how the Tongas do it as well. So they follow their own customary marriage practices. Then the other thing is we've got specific traditions where certain ethnic groups like the Senga have unique customs surrounding marriage or customary marriage like that. So some specific traditions will have specific things of how they go about these things. So the key thing to note here is that we are going to have variations. How they do it in one tribe or ethnic group may be different from the way they do it in other things. So what are the implications? What is the cultural significance of customary marriage? Why are the customary marriages important? Why is it that they have continued to exist? So customary marriages are an integral part of Zambia's cultural heritage. Our forefathers used to marry in this way, so by continuing to marry in this way up to this time, we keep that culture. It keeps revolving until we leave it to our children and our children's children, thereby keeping Zambia's culture alive. Then social dynamics. What is happening now in society is that customary marriages can reflect and shape social dynamics, including family relationships and community ties. If we get married from our roots, you see that families bond well. You find that that family is married to this other family, and there is that unity, that union, rather than marrying from a faraway place. Maybe children meet in college, then they get married, then you don't even know families well. So this one improves social dynamics, where there are going to be family relationships that will improve, and community ties like that. So there's going to be bonds that will develop within families and communities. So that is one very important one other important thing of customary marriages. Now, just like statutory marriages, customary marriages have requirements. All right, so what are the key requirements for customary marriages? So what are the key requirements? So number one, marriage payment. So in statutory marriage, we made mention that marriage payment is not allowed, but in this one, a payment is made by the bridegroom, Vashibwinga, to the bride's family, Vanabwinga. So bridegroom, Vashibwinga, bride is the Vanabwinga. So the man will pay an amount of money recognizing the union. So kula bati nabale totubale, nabale takapia, ngalui lobola, whatever it is called, the marriage will be signified in that way. So the man must pay the woman's family. Then the second thing, the second requirement is consent. Permission from parents or guardians of the woman, and agreement between the couple. So there are certain things whereby they would ask the woman, do you know this man? Yes. And then the parents also will approve, okay, yes, we can give this person to you in marriage. Then just like statutory marriage, they also look at the relationship between the people that want to get married. Spouses should not be closely related by blood or marriage, though some ethnic groups encourage cousin marriages. So just like we said, this one, there are cultural variations. Yambiama cultures, they allow people to get married if they are cousins. Then the spouses here, okay? So the male and the female, with the male being able to provide. So there should be that arrangement where the male must be able to provide for the family. So this one must involve a male and a female. These days we know that there are people that are getting married, they are all males. We don't even know who the husband will be and who the wife will be, in that kind of thing. So here we are saying there should be a male and a female, and then of the two, the male must be the one to provide for the family. So some cultures would require you to prove or provide evidence that you are able to provide. So they would let you stay together at the parents' place, and then let you farm with them, mwalima, maybe for some years, and then they will have proof, evidence that for sure, even when you stay alone, their daughter will not suffer. Then last but not least, age. So if you look at age, both parties must have reached puberty. Okay, with the girls below 16 considered ineligible. So mwana ngali less than 16, mwana kashi, then they'll think she hasn't yet reached puberty. So at least the girl must have reached 16 years. And also, in short, age is also a factor here, just like in statutory marriage. Okay, let's talk about registration here. So registration and validity. So registration. So if we talk about a customary marriage, registration here is done. Okay, customary marriages can be registered under marriage, whatever at the local courts. So the other one was at the High Court. So this one can be registered under the Local Courts Act. The other one, it is the Marriage Act at the High Court. So this one is the Local Courts Act. So it is at the local court. So in the exam, be careful. Customary marriage, local court, then the statutory High Court. Then there will be a certificate. So a marriage certificate can be issued upon what? Registration. So when you just register at the local court, they can give you what? A marriage certificate. Then in the previous one, we said conversion, non-convertible. The statutory marriage cannot be converted to a customary marriage where you marry more than one wife at the same time. In this one, it is allowed. You may have started out as a customary marriage and then later on convert it to a statutory marriage. All right, so it is possible to change from customary to statutory marriage, but not vice versa, not from statutory to customary. It is not possible. So basically, that is what we have to look at when we talk about the customary marriage. So in short, a customary marriage is simply a marriage that is contracted under traditional practices, and there should be those key things there. So there is customary practices, it is non-voluntary, polygamy is allowed, and also divorce there is going to be done by refunding the money that was paid to signify that the marriage has been cancelled. Then there are variations, different ethnic groups can do it differently, and then the importance is that if we do customary marriages, we are going to preserve Zambia's cultural heritage of marrying in this way, the same way our grandparents, our forefathers used to do it. It also strengthens the family and community relationships, because as you intermarry, you improve what? The relationships between the families and the community. So now we also talked about we also talked about the customary marriage requirements, which we can talk about as the marriage payment, the consent, the relationship, the spouses, and the age. Then last but not least, we've talked about the registration and validity, where you register at the local court, then upon registration you'll be given a certificate, and that conversion to statutory marriage is possible. Okay, now we are going to look at the other types of marriages in Zambia which are not recognized by law. So if we talk about other types, I know sometimes we may have seen people just going to church, they get married and it ends there. So where do such relationships stand? So other types of marriages that are not recognized by law here are going to be covered as well. So we're going to have the first one here, which is going to be the religious marriage. So this religious marriage, the marriages that happen in church marriages are not recognized. So many Zambians marry in church, but not all church marriages are legally recognized. So religious marriage, for the sake of our exam, is not recognized by law. So under these particular ones, you see that they are marriage bans. What are marriage bans? These are simply announcements made in church of the couple's intention to marry, allowing time for objection. Then under the religious marriage, there should be a licensed clergy, a licensed pastor, a licensed man of God. So some clergy are licensed under Marriage Act to perform civil marriages. So they can make you have a statutory marriage in church because they are registered by the courts or by the law, like that. Then the registration there, what do we have to say? Church marriages may need to be registered at the council offices or local court to be legally recognized. So it's very important that if you do it in church, also try to see that you go to the courts and have them more legally registered. So legal recognition, how can they be legally recognized? So legal recognition there, we'll talk about specific conditions must be met for a marriage to be legally recognized. So number one there, you must actually realize that there should be a licensed priest or licensed pastor. So some pastors are just self-proclaimed pastors who are not registered. So make sure that the marriage is performed by a licensed clergy, and it will be likely get recognized if that person does the proceedings. Then registration is necessary for legal recognition regardless of the ceremony type. So whether you do it at church, you do it in the village or what, but you must be able to register it. So let me give you a few examples here of how examples of legal recognition can come about. Let's say we've got a civil marriage registration that is needed there. A couple gets married in church, then registers their marriage at the council offices to obtain a marriage certificate, then you've legalized it. Then you can talk about a marriage, a licensed clergy marriage. So if you use a licensed clergy, a priest licensed under the Marriage Act performs the wedding ceremony, and the marriage is automatically going to be recognized by law. So here the key thing, use a licensed clergy. The other one, you need to have that civil marriage registration. Then the last scenario is local court registration. Couple gets married in a customary marriage and registers their marriage at the local court to obtain legal recognition. So these are some of the scenarios in which you can let that particular marriage get recognized. Otherwise, it may be one of the marriages that are not recognized by law. Then the last type of marriage that may not be recognized by law is cohabitation. Now in Zambia, this has been on the rise. You find people go to college, they start staying together, and they are cohabiting, they are living like husband and wife. Sometimes you go for work in another town, a man goes to work in another town, a woman also is working in that other town, they start living together as husband and wife. So this one is now being considered a type of marriage, because the society may soon start taking them more as what? As a husband and a wife. So the key points here to look at are that it is an informal union. Cohabitation is an informal union where a couple lives together without formalizing their marriage, and it is an emerging trend where this type of union is increasingly common in urban areas. Like I said, some people go to school and then without parental consent they start staying together, and then have that kind of arrangement. So why has it been on the rise? It's like society has now accepted it. So there's social acceptance. So the social acceptance aspect here is that over time, society may accept the couple as husband and wife. They are staying like that, and then sooner rather than later, people will be like, banachite, even if they are not married. So it's like now people are seeing it as a shortcut way of just doing together. Sometimes you see maybe parents did not approve, didn't give the consent, then the people just decide to do it by force. They start staying together without legally doing it or doing it the right way. It becomes an informal union, something they just do on their own. And then the last issue about cohabitation is that it has no legal recognition. It lacks legal recognition. Should there be any problem, like maybe a man beats the wife does what, or maybe they want to share things, they want to separate, the courts may not come in, because in the first place it started without formalization, and the marriage is not going to be recognized under the law. So it is really a dangerous union. You need to make sure that you take note of that. So what are the key terminologies? So for the Tongas, we call them mapoto. Mapoto, which is a Tonga term, which means or which describes cohabitation, or in Bemba, ukubuta, another term to describe that one. So mapoto it's a Tonga one, and then ukubuta, it means cohabitation, those marriages that start without parental approval. So what happens is that there we're going to have what the implications. So what does it mean when you're getting into a cohabitation marriage? Know that there are no legal rights. Okay, the couples are trading on dangerous ground. Couples in cohabitation relationships may not have the same legal rights as a formerly married couple. There are no obligations, there are no rights, there are no what. There you are just living according to your own way. So you need to see that you understand that. Then children's rights. Children born out of cohabitation relationships may face challenges in terms of inheritance and other rights. I think we've seen some situations whereby the father dies and then children need to share things, and you find that those that were born out of wedlock, out of proper marriage structure, find it difficult to have a share of those particular things. So you need to take note of that particular scenario. So cohabitation is one of those marriages that may also not be recognized. I didn't want the video to be too long, so I'll end it here for this part where we talk about the customary marriage, and then in the next segment I'm going to talk about void and voidable marriages, and then see that we wrap it up like that. Otherwise it is okay. Or maybe what I can do here is that yeah, I think I can do that one. I can do it on its own, but we've talked about the customary marriage in this video. So in the next one, voidable and the void marriages, and you see that it will be something that the examiners will test you on, more especially on multiple choice questions.